All the colour and drama from Brazil. We now know who the Socceroos will face next year at the World Cup finals. Craig Foster and Jason Culina. Fozz, first, we knew it was going to be a tough draw no matter who we got, but it's played out as probably one of the toughest going round. Chile, Spain and the Netherlands. What's your reaction?
Oh, I think it's the best. I think it's absolutely fabulous. I couldn't be more thrilled for us. As what Jason said before, we're still learning. That's what it's all about at the moment for the next several World Cups at least. And if you put all of the other 31 nations in and you had to say what is the other 3 of probably 5 that you'd be interested in playing against to learn from because they present a good model for us, these are 3 of the top 4. Right, Netherlands, of course, are exceptional. You've got the 2 last World Cup finalists, so you know competitively it's extremely strong. Spain are a wonderful football team. I think it's magical that here in Australia we're now going to be talking about playing against the world champions. And Chile are a fabulous football nation. I'm a huge fan of them. They're one of my real favourites. And I think, I just think that's wonderful for our football future.
Jason, for you, what's your reaction?
Look, I think we have to be realistic. Our chances of progressing have slightly diminished, if you want to say that. But like Fozzie said, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn from playing against these teams, against your Netherlands, your Spain and your Chiles. We can learn so much. And the best we can do is go out there and play above ourselves and get some respect from the rest of the world, because these teams in any group will cause a big problem for any other nation around the world, let alone ourselves. But we are in a transitional period, and we don't know what to expect from ourselves until we actually get there. And Ange implements his style into our new Socceroo team, into a young team who we hope in not only the next World Cup and 2 World Cup time will be a lot more competitive. But it's a great group, and like Fozz said, it's great to play against these sort of nations, and it's exciting and fantastic, and it's the World Cup.
It really is. What about the coaches? I mean, what about for Ange, for example? And I would hope, and I would say, given this group, let's say there's a group of 20 of the best young Australian coaches go. You're talking about Del Bosque, you're talking about Van Gaal, and Sampaoli, who's the coach of Chile, who's a disciple of Bielsa. You're talking about 3 of the very finest coaches. I mean, what can we learn from that? They're in our group. You're in with them. You're around them. You're discussing with them. I just think it's absolutely it's phenomenal what we can take out of this group. Forget about what's going to happen. We understand. Australia has to understand that we are in many sports dominant, but in this sport we're learning. And what a fabulous opportunity for a wonderful footballing South American nation, a great European nation now, and one has redefined football, and another, of course, the home of total football. It's beautiful.
We'll go through the nations one by one a little bit later. And we're also hoping to get some reaction from Brazil, from Ange Postecoglou. But let's have a look just to confirm the fixtures in order for Australia. First up on the 14th, and bear in mind that these are provisional. FIFA do wonderful things, and they may end up changing the kickoff times or some of these. But as it stands at the moment, it is first up against the Chile, the 14th of June in Cueba, followed by the Dutch in Porto Alegre, and finishing with Spain in Curitiba. I guess the only positive in terms of geography, Jay, is that you don't have to travel so much, so they've got out of that probably luckier than many.
Yeah, and that plays a big part as well. I remember in the 2006 World Cup in Germany, travel wasn't a big issue, whereas in 2010 in South Africa, travel was a big issue, and we played at altitude as well. So it does play a big part, and it's just as well that we're playing the second and the third game down in the south of Brazil, which will limit the amount of travelling we do. So that will be a big benefit to us. But it's important that we do get off to a good start, and getting Chile in the first game is probably the best possible scenario for us.
Fozz, of course, there is a history with Australia and Chile. We played them in '74, the very first World Cup appearance for the Socceroos. And you've also recently spent some time with their coach. Can you give us a bit of an insight about what he had to say, what his philosophies are? You said he was a disciple of Bielsa.
Well, not much time. I mean, he was in Australia earlier this year because he was the coach of Universidad de Chile, and they won the Copa Sudamericana, and they were going to Japan, and he came through here just for, I think he had 3 days here on a training exercise en route. And I had the opportunity through a Chilean friend to go and meet him, and we interviewed him with SBS. Jorge Sampaoli, his name is, and he trained alongside Bielsa when Bielsa had Chile. So he is an example of the legacy of what some of these high-quality coaches can bring to countries like ours. And his football is, I think it's extraordinary. You know, as you know, I think Bielsa's wonderful, and I thought he was a great prospect for a potential Socceroos coach. I interviewed Sampaoli, and it was very clear from watching his football, a lot of which I've watched, that it's extremely similar. They played England recently, of course. They beat them comfortably. Yeah. They outperformed them. They played beautifully, and the English press were saying, look, these guys, this is exceptional. It's brilliant, aggressive, attacking football. I think many aspects of it are the future of our football. I couldn't be more delighted that we've got them. I think it's absolutely brilliant, because every coach and every football person in Australia is going to look at their football. Don't worry about the result. It's got no consequence for us, as far as I'm concerned. This is the type of play that we're trying to get in future. It's absolutely brilliant. I asked him, actually, I thought he might be a good prospect for a future Socceroos coach. And he said he would have been delighted to come. Subsequently, of course, they sacked their coach and he took Chile over, and his record since he took him has been absolutely brilliant. So I think there's so much to learn. It's just brilliant.
Jason, they were very dominant in the South American qualifying. We ended up finishing third as well. I guess most people will look at this and say that's maybe the one more winnable game. Do you agree with that? Or?
Well, based on the results Fozzie just said, you know, the last couple of games they've outplayed and outshone bigger nations. And look, like I said, and I'm going to keep saying it, there are no easy games at a World Cup, and that's speaking from personal experience. And look, if you want to choose Chile or the Netherlands or Spain, you could say that Spain are an ageing team, and you know they've reached their peak, and you know perhaps they're on their way down. Or the Netherlands, they've been around for a while now, but in Louis van Gaal, he's reinvigorated them and reintroduced new things. So Chile, a little bit unknown to us, as we don't get to play against too many South American teams in our friendlies. So it's an unknown quantity in regards to the style we can come up against. But I think what's most important is that we focus on ourselves. And again, speaking from personal experience, back in 2006, we drew the likes of Brazil, Japan and Croatia in our group. But the focus was on ourselves. In training, we worked really hard on our structure. We worked really hard on team bonding, and that made us a solid unit. And we didn't work too much or concentrate too much on our opponents, which was important to us because you don't want to waste a lot of energy focusing on your opponents. So the important thing for the Socceroos is to go in each and every game, treat it completely separately, but remember, you know, what you've worked on, the important things that make you good, and go out there and give it your all.